Dave, Todd, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you, sir. How are you guys today?
Very good. Thanks, Ray.
I am good, thank you. We are going to talk about water infiltration. Why don't we go ahead and, it looks like Todd is very anxious to involve his prop in some manner. So, Todd, why don't you utilize your prop and tell us a little bit about water infiltration?
Our prop here is just a small mock-up of a really shingle roof, architectural roof. And it's got all the elements that you need. We're going to start right here at the bottom, right where your roof would meet your gutter. I believe you guys can see my gutter. Right here below the bottom, for the first layer, we have what's called your ice and water shield product, which is a basic peel and stick. And you notice that's over your plywood sheathing, and there's a drip edge here as well, which helps divert water off of the plywood away from the roof and into the gutter. So that's your first layer that you will put on your roof once you have a nice clean roof, free of nails and free of debris.
Dave had sent me some photos.
That's a kick-out flashing, and it can potentially an area that's potentially detrimental to allowing water to infiltrate the wall at that location. And if the water is not kicked out into the gutter, it could potentially infiltrate the building at that location. You could see there's a little piece of metal that's sticking out from the cladding. That flashing kicks the water out as it's running down the roof into the gutter.
That's one of your leading causes right there of leaks, especially with that specific type of siding material. And that kick-out flashing is the superb idea of how to keep the water away.
Is there anything that managers and board members are looking for that can see that there's a problem?
Obviously, in those corners, you want to look for any type of decay.
We also see a lot of times an indication where there's no kick-out flashing or the kick-out flashing is ineffective. We sometimes see staining along the wall under the gutter. That's a clear indication, whether it be stucco, eaves, or brick, or siding. That's a clear indication that there's a problem there.
That's not required by code?
It's not a building code requirement, but it's a NRCA requirement, which is National Roofing Contractors Association industry standard.
Here you guys can see this is what we call a vent collar, and this is what we actually call a lifetime vent collar. These are the boots that go over the collar itself, so over the pipe itself. So here is a simulation of your pipe that would stick out of your roof. These pipes are used to vent your wastewater. They are surrounded by a rubber gasket and a whole entire metal flashing. So this entire collar slides directly over the top of this pipe, and it gets sealed so that no water can get in behind it. Remember, there's a penetration through your roof here, so that's an area that is prone to leaks. These areas constantly leak. The collars that are made that are older, maybe on your roof 10 years, again, it's just a rubber gasket.
Yeah, Ray, in the picture that you have up, it's a close-up of what Todd is talking about. That rubber gasket that's right around the white PVC pipe, that's what ends up becoming very brittle. It starts to crack, and as water leaks down that pipe, it gets into the attic. Another common problem with these flashing flanges is that even if the gasket is okay, if they're not installed properly, wind-driven rain can actually enter underneath the shingles and underneath the flashing flange and get into the building through the opening.
How common is it that these items are defective?
Yeah, most new roofs, when they're reinstalled, are installed properly. Find a lot new construction, mass production. We do find on the transitions that we do anyway, a lot of the new construction, we do find that there's been sites where there's 70 as much as 80% of these penetrations aren't installed properly.
Well, it's a great picture here. So that hole that you're seeing there, is that, David, is that rot or was that a penetration?
I believe it was a penetration that had water infiltration around it.
So underneath here, like David was talking about earlier, is the hole in the plywood where this pipe will come out. And so that is a picture of exactly what happens when the material is installed incorrectly. And David said it just a few minutes ago, how you want to make sure you cover the whole area of the penetration with the shingle. So remember, this flange, as it comes down this low, it also goes up this high. So it has to be covered all the way from here properly down. That picture itself shows how a vent collar fails the water gets down in between here, possibly behind the flashings here from up top, and starts to cause that wood to rot. And that's what it looks like undercover.
Isn't it visible to anybody in the interior that there's a problem?
It could be soaking into the plywood before there's enough water to actually cause a stain.
I'd love to talk about this product here, which is our deck armor. It's a synthetic product that has replaced the original conventional black tar paper. It would tear very easily. You could take it by your hand and you could tear it. Well, this product right here, this has got a staple in it. I can't even rip it off. When this product is on the roof and the guys are walking and they're shingling and they're using their guns and they're adding their nails, this product doesn't tear from their boots. Back in the day, the black paper would be on the roof, but as the guys were nailing, it would actually tear the paper. Now with this type of product, so strong, can't be ripped. It's just a great product, and it really helps make today's roofs last.
Dave, is that product in wide use? Is it expensive? Why wouldn't anybody use that product over the felt paper?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more closely related to like a Tyvek product that you see more commonly used on the exterior building walls as an underlayment, but it's becoming much more prominent on roofs.
Todd, how many boards and managers put or even ask about what materials are going to be used?
They're getting more educated. We're starting to hear them say, we want to know if you have ice and water shield. We heard about that. We want to know if you have a synthetic membrane and the lifetime rubber gaskets. They're concerned for how much money they're going to spend on an overall project leads them to research the products.
Yeah, or if it's a larger scale repair or replacement, we always recommend that associations have specifications.
Todd, how often do you find a problem is repeated from roof to roof?
It's very common, Ray. It really depends on the design of the buildings based on the way it's built. If somebody made a mistake on the first unit and they traveled through the other 250 units and did the exact same thing, eventually that leak will rear its ugly head on almost every unit. I'd like to just point out another really crucial portion of the roof, which here is the ridge vent. And what it does is it shows you that it's ventilated. And there's airflow that comes up from your soffit. Now, your soffit's your overhang. I don't know if you have some pictures in there.
You know.
But the air is able to come from the bottom of the soffit, your overhang, under your gutter, come up through your attic, and it's able to push all the hot air out of those vents. And this product here is called a ridge vent. That's all it is. It's made out of plastic. And that is what helps keep and preserve the life of a roof. Having proper ventilation is really what stops all of those problems from taking place, as well as going to the cold end side, which I think Dave will be best explained on the ice damming and the flow of air during the winter as well.
Attic ventilation is crucial, and to the life of a roof system. The attic ventilation has to be a balanced system between the ingress ventilation at the soffit and the egress ventilation at the ridge. And at the soffit, there would be, at your overhang, a perforated either vinyl or sometimes it's a wood strip opening underneath the soffit. And Ray, just stay on that picture that you just had up. That picture that you have there, you can see the styrofoam corrugated, we call them baffles. Those are installed at the eaves to keep the insulation back from the overhang or in the soffit and allow the airflow from the soffit to extend up along the roof. If those baffles aren't installed, the insulation can potentially be crammed up into the soffit and close up those vents in the soffit and not allow the airflow to come in. And then you don't have any ingress ventilation. You only have a ridge vent, which does nothing. It just allows the air inside the space to exhaust out, but you have no airflow coming in. There, Todd is holding up an example of a baffle that gets installed.
And this will divert the air, basically past your insulation, and it diverts the air up in this direction.
And that keeps the roof decking in the wintertime cold so that you don't have excessive snow melt and then refreezing at the gutter causing ice damming. And in the summertime, you have adequate airflow to keep the attics from getting excessively hot, which can cause premature shingle failure.
This is what's your fascia, which is what your gutter's nailed to. Hold on, I got to angle you guys down just a little. Here, this is our gutter, and our overhang and our soffit is right here. Okay, and so the airflow goes through here. But if this doesn't exist, what they do is they have a piece of your fascia board, and sandwiched in between it is like a filter or, what does it say it again, Dave?
Just an opening into
Just an opening, right. And it allows the air to flow in there. It's not as great as everything else, but it's better than nothing.
Talk a little bit more about the attic.
Okay. I think the attic space is detrimental to a roof system, in that you want to make sure that the attic space itself is insulated, not only for, the comfort of the interior space of the living space below the attic, but also ventilation of the roof system, keeping the attic space temperature as close in temperature to the outside in the wintertime as possible. Also reducing the effects of condensation issues in the attic. Sometimes we find issues or leaks or water infiltration into the living space as a result of condensation from ductwork that is not properly insulated. So, for example, if you have a bathroom vent, a section of ductwork from that bathroom vent extending to the cold attic space, and that ductwork is not insulated, it's exhausting warm, moist air from the bathroom through the attic space where it's cold. That warm, moist air is going to condense on the uninsulated ductwork, and that condensation leaks down the ductwork and causes what appears to be water infiltration or leak stains on the ceiling. The roof decking is again a very important factor to consider when replacing a roof or when inspecting roofs. You want to make sure that the roof decking is code compliant and is fire treated for the proper distance away from the firewall on each side of the townhome.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Hey, good seeing you guys.